Melissa from Focal Point here, and I'm here to talk to you today about how to help your kids with reading. When your kids are first starting to learn, and when they're in the younger grades, K3, we're doing a lot of teaching how to read, and we should be reading at home with them 20 minutes every evening. I suggest around bedtime. It's a nice ritual you create to read together at bedtime and make it a habit, and that's how you get it done. You want to have a habit that helps you to get it done consistently. So that's one suggestion. The other thing is that we all kind of know the idea of having a child read to us. But what if they're not really fully ready for that? The question is how to design a reading exercise so that a child can get reading experience when they're not fully ready to read the book. So let's go through a couple of different options. There's really 3 levels of reading exercises. One is where I read to you. The other is where we read together, and there's a couple of options for that. And the third one is where the child reads to me. So when we have a child read just to us, in the early days, we want to make sure, and really all the way through, we want to make sure that we're not at too high of a level. We want to have a level where the child can decipher virtually everything on that page. Also, in the early days, we want to have not very many words on that page. Now, as we move into 2nd and 3rd grade, there's going to be more and more words on the page. But certainly for kindergarten and a lot of times for 1st graders this time of the year, we want to start with just a few words on the page, and we want the words to be ones that that the child can decipher themselves. So you can see where a book like this gives an opportunity for a child to read, but not to have too many words on the page. So the first thing about having a child read independently to you is to choose the right book. Choose something that they can have success with by themselves without doing a lot of tedious work. So it has to be a level where it feels comfortable. Now we move on to a book that might be just a little bit harder for the child to read. There's some words on the page the child can read easily, other words on the page that the child has a hard time with, and now there's more words on the page. So here's a book that's got more words on the page, and you can see there's more words on each side than what we had before. And we also have 2-syllable words like after. Now when I read this kind of a book with a child, what I do is I take my finger and I uncover that word like that as they try to figure it out. And as they're trying to figure it out, I don't tell them the word, but I'll tell them the next sound. So if my child has gone ah, and they're stopping here, I'm going to say f, and they repeat it. And where this might get difficult is my child might go ah and f and t, and they might need a little help with So ER together, I say and then I have them put it together. Now, if they didn't get it the first time, we say it together. Now I ask the child to say the word. And generally at this point, they can put the word together after. So if not, this is the point for you to say it and have them to say it back to you. So when you are reading with assistance, you're going to help keep the child on the correct word. Your finger is going to be on the page. After his dip, now maybe the child has a hard time with this word, then that's for the point at which your finger scrolls across it, helps them to get it one letter at a time. Anytime they're not sounding out and they don't know the word, scroll your finger across. That's the cue for the child to start sounding out the word. If you start with the first letter here and the child hasn't said, then you say it. Get them to say it. It. Most of them at this point are going to be able to get that word, even if they were struggling a little bit at the beginning. Words like the are not phonetic, can't just be sounded out, but they're on your sight word list, and I do have a video out about sight words, so take a look at that if you're having trouble with sight words. So what you're wanting to do with your child is to give them the level of assistance they need without getting in their way. It should feel good for them to do the reading exercise. It should not be frustrating, and they should get as much assistance as they need in reading the book that's in front of them. Be careful about the level of book that you choose, and be careful about what it is that you're asking them to do. And then the third thing is the kind of reading exercise where you read out loud to the child. And I recommend that when you read out loud to your child, you have their finger on the page pointing to the word for you. This is the way you can make sure that their eyes are on the page. And what this does is gives the child experience with seeing it, hearing it, and maybe saying it if you have them repeat after you. but all of the parts of reading get put together even though they don't have to do the work. So if you are doing an exercise where you read out loud together, you're going to have them point to the word, you say the word, they repeat it. Now they're getting all three parts: see it, hear it, say it, even though it's a book that might be too hard for them to read themselves. So pick books that are at a level that can be a little bit challenging but not overwhelming and frustrating, and do several different levels of reading exercises: reading independently, reading with assistance, reading out loud together, and being read to. And at each level, you're going to give the child some piece of assistance that will help them become a better reader. Remember, do it consistently, have fun. You should end this exercise when you're still both having a good time. And if you do that consistently, what's going to happen is you're going to have a reader on your hands who loves school. So good luck, and let me know if you need any help from Focal Point.